Jaime Munguia wins a 12-round unanimous decision over Gabe Rosado in a pretty wild and entertaining fight. Munguia, the younger man, was boxing, I don't want to say within himself early on in the bout, but he was certainly being a lot more careful than we're used to seeing him in the past. And I think that is to do with his trainer, Eric Morales, who's trying to rein him in a little bit, get him to be a bit more structured and not quite so wild. And I think it's starting to work a bit better now, because early on, I thought he was maybe taking the edge off Munguia a little bit, Eric Morales, but now I can see more that it is working, because when Munguia does open up, it looks more like the old Munguia. His punches are tighter, they're not quite as wide and looping as they used to be, but he's still got that same energy that he used to fight with. He just uses it more wisely now. Now, Rosado, the old vet, from very early on in the fight, you could tell that he was looking for the kind of right hand which finished off Milakuziev in his previous fight. Milakuziev came into the bout a big favorite. He was apparently going places, and we will remember Rosado eyeing him out in devastating fashion. So he was looking for the same shot against Jaime Munguia, and to be fair, he found similar shots on several occasions. He managed to walk Munguia into that right hand a few times, but Munguia showed a very solid chin, and thus far in Munguia's career, I've yet to see him significantly wobbled or hurt by a shot. He certainly hasn't been down as far as I'm aware. So Munguia appears to have a real good chin there, and he's going to need it because defensively, he's still quite poor. Still gets clipped far too much, and if he's going to go in there against the likes of a Charlo, Golovkin, and so on, he's going to pay more dearly than he did against the likes of a Gabe Rosado and many other fighters that he's fought who managed to clip him on a fairly regular basis. He is improving under Eric Morales, but again, I can see why he hasn't fought any of the top names so far, even though they did want to put him in with Golovkin a couple years back. Good thing they didn't. Because, yeah, still raw, still a lot to learn. And even though he is 25 years of age, he looks closer to 15. I don't think he's got a hair on his face. Certainly ain't got a hair on his body. So, yeah, he looks young. He still fights young. And also another thing is, at middleweight, I don't think Munguia has the same kind of power that he had at 154. And again, that's a problem. Because if you're a guy that gets hit this much, you need to be able to hit the other guy back real hard in order to gain some respect, so he's a bit more cautious about hitting you. Whereas Rosado, very tough guy as we all know, but he's been down quite a few times in his career. Does have a good chin, but he can be hurt and he can be dropped. Munguia maybe wobbled him a couple times, but never came close to dropping him. So you do have to wonder about Munguia's power at 160 pounds here. So, that was one of the reasons why I was a little concerned about the way Morales was changing Munguia's style, because Munguia, not being a massive one-punch guy, he's going to need some volume. And he's also not a slick guy, yeah? If you're a guy who can stick and move and you're really elusive, you don't necessarily need to be a big puncher. And if you're a guy who has tremendous volume, you can compensate for the fact that you're not really a big puncher. But Munguia doesn't have that elusiveness, and he has cut down a bit on his punch volume, at least in his past couple fights. In this fight, his volume was higher. And when he did get the opportunity to start letting shots go on Gabe Rosado, he did so. Punches and bunches. So, yeah, I think he's evolving his style a little bit under Eric Morales, and it is getting a bit better, but it's still a little concern to me that he isn't able to put a serious dent in a lot of these guys. If we look at his record here, Gabe Rosado, that went 12. He did stop Zerameta in 6. Toreno Johnson was also stopped in 6. Prior to that, Gary O'Sullivan went 11. Bear in mind, Gary O'Sullivan was knocked out in 1 round by David Lemieux. He was also stopped by Chris Eubank Jr. many years ago. I think that was in about 5 or 6 rounds. And this guy is going 11 with Jaime Munguia. Okay, so, and even down at 154, look at this. Majority decision over Dennis Hogan. In a way, that crazy Japanese guy took him the distance. So, Liam Smith, of course, 12-round UD. So the punching power, it wasn't amazing at 154, but I think even at 160, isn't that great. You guys let me know what you think in the comments below, but all I can tell you is the fight was tremendously entertaining. Rosado, the old vet, was goading Munguia all the time, was talking to him in Spanish. He got warned, actually, at one point in one of these furious exchanges that they had throughout the bout. And I think the referee, Jack Reese, was unhappy with Rosado pushing Munguia or shoving his elbow into Munguia's neck or whatever it was. So he was doing all the rough stuff in there, trying to unsettle the younger guy. And I think it did work a little bit in some of the exchanges where, as I say, Rosado was getting real macho and, you know, banging his chest and hitting himself on the chin like, you didn't hurt me and all this kind of stuff and marching forward. I think that might have got to Munguia a little bit a couple times, but ultimately he did win the fight. He was the deserved winner. I certainly think the fight was closer than the judges had it. I mean, if you look here, 118, 110, 117, 111, 119, 109. Yeah, I think that's a little unfair to Gabe Rosado, but I do think the right man won. But what would you expect? It's a Golden Boy card with a Golden Boy on it and an arena full of Mexicans. There might have been like 2 Puerto Ricans in there, and Gabe Rosado was one of them. It was like after the fight, you know, when they're about to announce the score or the result, Rosado had his hand up as if he was hopeful that he might get the victory. Like, come on. Even if you thought it was somewhat close, look around you. It's an arena full of Mexicans. They're not going to give it to you. Anyway, let me know what you guys thought about it in the comments below. How far do you think Jaime Munguia can go? Do you think he's ready now for the Charlos of the world? Will he ever be ready? If not, who do you want him to fight next? And of course, the Golovkins as well. Let me know in the comments below.